For Samba News, I'm Dwayne. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. You know, I just came across this video that I found. It was uploaded like 6 years ago. I don't know exactly geographically where it took place, but I do know that it features Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, and he's speaking to a group of AIPAC members. And the AIPAC members are basically asking him about how the best strategies on reaching out to the African American community, specifically how to reach out to the leaders. And it's really interesting because, I'm just, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to let the video play for itself. There's a whole lot I can say on this, but sometimes it's best to let the video speak for itself. Now, I'll just let you know ahead of time, the audio isn't the greatest, so you may have to turn it up, pretty loud. I'm going to try to clean it up as much as I can. And then after the video, I will have some other clips that kind of tell the rest of the story, if you know what I mean. So if you know, you know. I'll just leave it at that, and let's get to the clip.
A couple more questions. One more question, Barry. Barry has spoken. This is a lot of pressure. The last question.
You spoke a lot about hope, and obviously you are someone who is very pro-Israel. We also heard beautiful remarks about some of the students on traditionally black colleges, leadership, and what they've done. But could you give us your own evaluation of the African American leadership in the United States, and what is their feeling about Israel? And because oftentimes I think locally outside of New York, we find that there is becoming greater identification not with the history of Israel and what Israel has become, but with the sufferings of the Palestinians without any really understanding of the history of Israel. So can you comment on African American leadership?
Well, blacks are always going to be, as Jews are, I think, always going to be some of the first to sign up to address the suffering of others. And we shouldn't be afraid of that within the black community, the Jewish community, whatever community. But when it comes to justice for Israel and understanding and suffering within context, we need to be more vigilant than we're being right now. And I look, the black community in many ways, I argue, I just was a speaker for the ADL's annual dinner. We always argue, every time I meet Abe Botsman, I always ask him about his studies of black anti-Semitism, and is it higher than American anti-Semitism as a whole? We have interesting discussions. But if you live in the American world, there are streams within America, and many of them are streams within the mainstream that are racist and that are have anti-Semitism in them. So we have to always be on guard to vigilantly fight against those streams. Is there streams of anti-Semitism in African American life? Yes. Is there streams of racism or bigotry in Jewish life? Yes. So my point is not, that's a given. The more important question to me is, what are we who are validly against that? What are we going to do? And so within the black community, and I say this all the time, and you asked specifically about black leadership. First of all, this excites me like never before, because Obama is a raindrop compared to the storm that's coming of young black leaders around this country who are phenomenally qualified, phenomenally experienced. You're going to see more black governors, you're going to see more black senators, you're going to see more African American CEOs. This next generation is coming up behind my parents' generation. It's incredibly qualified, incredibly competent in making moves. So my only hope is with that, and so the people like to think that one black person speaks for all black America, which is so offensive to me in many ways. So I'm sorry, Jesse Jackson doesn't speak for me. Al Sharpton doesn't speak for me. It's just there's as much diversity within the black community, dear God, as there is diversity within the Jewish community. 2 Jews in a town, we've got 3 synagogues. Okay, so that's the reality that there is. So the only thing I can say is that this next group of African Americans are very visionary, very much full of hope, very value based, as I know them. Harold Ford's, Arthur Davis's, and many of the people that AIPAC knows. And the only thing I think that AIPAC, it's critical that you continue to find, not them when they're Congress people, you find those black leaders when they're 22-year-olds at Oxford when they're 24-year-olds as a city council president, and you go to them then and say, come to Israel, let us start showing you what this is about. That's what a key mission of AIPAC that we must continue, which is finding future leaders, young leaders in America. I'm at the Aspen Institute. They've done a great job. They have this young leaders group. That whole group should go to Israel. These are the kind of things that need to be done ultimately for us to combat that. But please, I appeal to Jews all the time, please do not think that there are, just because such and such a black leader gets up there, whether it be Reverend Wright or whomever, and says something stupid, like many leaders, period, do, and spread that around for the entire black community, as much as Jews would never want to be held responsible for everything shouldn't go chaos. Thank you very much.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black Lives Matter starts there. I had last week a sit-down dinner at my house with 30 people, which are considered the leadership of the black community, and it's very important people. They can be part of our doing an activity.
Dr. Clarence B Jones, who wrote the draft speech for Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. He was his lawyer, he was his close friend, he's somebody that I reached out to, he became a very close and personal friend.
Since 2002, the Anti-Defamation League, the American Jewish Committee's Project Interchange, and the Jewish Institute for National Security Affairs, pro-Israel groups closely associated with AIPAC, the Israel Lobby, have paid for U.S. police to train in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories with the Jewish state's security forces. Now, the training of U.S. police by Israeli forces is widespread, and many of these trips are taxpayer-funded. On these trips, U.S. police are exposed to military policing that happens in a non-democratic context, such as border control, checkpoints, and policing of Palestinians in the occupied territories, essentially taking lessons to enforce military rule rather than civil law. The problem with this mingling of domestic policing with military operations is that the two institutions have starkly different missions. U.S. police officers are charged with keeping the peace and protecting the constitutional rights of American citizens and residents. Soldiers are trained to annihilate.
No, we must stand with Israel.
Do you support reparations for black people?
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. Which is why I support the United States commitment to provide Israel with $38 billion in military assistance over the next decade. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. I support full funding for Israel, including for the Arrow, David Sling, and the Iron Dome missile defense systems, which save lives. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. And that's why I am fully committing to maintaining Israel's qualitative military edge. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. I stand here clear-eyed about the dangers of division in our country and in our world, understanding why a state for the Jewish people is so essential.